You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now.
New Jersey can't become the Wild West of drone activity.
Mysterious drone sightings continue prompting security concerns, what lawmakers are calling for as 2 more states now investigate suspicious activity. Then, speaking publicly for the first time, what United Healthcare's top boss says needs to change in the wake of Brian Thompson's stunning murder. And the Army and Navy get ready to clash for the 125th time in college football's most unique rivalry. Who's going to be in attendance off the field? That's getting all the headlines. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Right now, 12 million people under winter weather alerts with snow, sleet, and freezing rain forecast from the Central Plains to the upper Midwest tonight. Power outages, downed trees, and dangerous roads are expected. More lake effect snow was forecast in the areas near Lake Ontario today, and a cold front is impacting millions of people, especially in the north, central, and eastern part of the country. Major power outages also possible from California to Washington this weekend as an atmospheric river brings severe rain, wind, and mountain snow to that region. And drone sighting concerns growing as residents of Connecticut and Massachusetts are among the latest to say they have seen mysterious flying objects out at night. This as alleged drone sightings are frustrating elected officials who are now pushing back at the White House for downplaying the concerns. National correspondent Matt Gelka reports.
The White House's response to the growing number of reports of drones in the New Jersey and New York City area is getting major pushback from state and federal officials. National Security spokesman John Kirby said they could not corroborate the visual sightings and that there was no known security threat. A joint FBI and Homeland Security statement said the same.
Upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully.
Kirby's statement didn't sit well with some local officials on the ground.
And the weight of these things, if they somehow malfunction and lost their power and they come down, if they weigh 50 pounds and they're falling from 300 feet, that's not going to be good for whoever's underneath of it. So I really think Mr. Kirby's statement today was pretty stupid.
Millions of people around here are getting nothing but don't believe what you see.
New Jersey Democratic Senator-elect Andy Kim posted video on X saying he went out with law enforcement Thursday night to observe the skies. Also writing, it's hard to understand how, with the technology we have, we aren't able to track these devices to determine origin.
That's really convincing.
The push for answers is bipartisan.
Just be straight with us. Tell us what it is.
They should be shot down if necessary.
But there are skeptics. Mick West analyzes unidentified aerial phenomena, and he's not convinced the sightings amount to anything more than hysteria right now.
Most of what people are posting online are actually planes, and we've been able to verify that by whenever someone puts up a video with enough information, if they put up the date, time, location, and the direction they're facing, we're able to correlate that with the tracks of the planes and figure out which one it is.
House Speaker Mike Johnson reportedly got a classified briefing on the drone sightings, and House and Senate staffers got an update too, as more sightings continue to pop up now in other states. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Okay, Matt, thank you. And sharing some of the responsibility, that is part of the theme of United Healthcare Group CEO's first public response to last week's murder of Brian Thompson. Andrew Whitty wrote a guest essay for the New York Times today calling the health insurance industry a poorly designed system built as a patchwork over decades of growth. But he added that Brian Thompson was one of the good guys trying to reform the industry for the better. It comes as support pools online for the suspected killer in this case, Luigi Mangione. Online fundraisers have collected more than $50,000 for his defense. Many others have written online openly calling out corporate greed, especially when people's health is at stake. Andrew Whitty addressed some of those concerns in writing, saying, together with employers, governments, and others who pay for care, we need to improve how we explain what insurance covers, and how decisions are made. Behind each decision lies a comprehensive and continually updated body of clinical evidence focused on achieving the best health outcomes and ensuring patient safety. Meanwhile, a Florida woman has been charged with threatening a health insurance company after quoting a message from the killer of United Healthcare's CEO. 42-year-old Brianna Boston facing up to 15 years in prison now. Investigators say she threatened an agent at Blue Cross Blue Shield at the end of a phone call stating delay, deny, depose. You people are next. And tonight we are following the latest on the health of Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, who is now in a European hospital receiving care for an injury that happened while at an event in Luxembourg. Pelosi's office says the former speaker was on bipartisan congressional trip to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. It did not elaborate on the kind of injury she sustained, but her office did say the 84-year-old is receiving excellent treatment from doctors. And 1 week to go before the current government funding deadline, Axios is reporting the two chambers have agreed to extend funding until March. Democrats, who are losing the Senate, wanted a full year. It is unknown if extra legislation will be added to the budget, which is common at the end of a congressional session. It gives the president a chance to sign bills into law that passed one chamber during the year that wasn't passed by the other. Speaker Mike Johnson says he expects to have a final text probably by Sunday. A newly released Inspector General's report reveals the FBI had dozens of confidential informants on the ground during the January 6th riot at the Capitol. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joining us now with what we're learning tonight from Capitol Hill.
The FBI had 26 confidential sources present on the ground for the January 6th riot at the Capitol. The long-awaited Justice Department Inspector General report on how the FBI handled these informants finally published.
In some ways, it raises more questions than answers. There's going to be a lot of concern as to what these sources were doing there.
Only 3 of the 26 were told by the FBI to be there. 23 others went on their own. The IG report also revealing many of these FBI sources broke the law that day. 4 entering the Capitol building, 13 others went into restricted areas. The FBI did not give them permission to do so. The report concludes the FBI did not have any undercover agents on the ground.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that
something lawmakers previously pressed FBI Director Christopher Wray on? Wray told lawmakers he did not believe so. The FBI director, however, dodged questions about informants.
I'm not going to get into where we have or have not used confidential human sources. I can tell you that if you are asking if the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources or agents, the answer is no.
These 26 confidential sources are people who belonged to groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and became paid FBI informants while still remaining part of those groups.
The truth is, confidential human source is a fancy name for spy. There were 26 of them here on January 6, 2021. 4 of them entered the Capitol.
None of the informants who broke the law were prosecuted, unlike hundreds of others.
And one of the things we've been concerned about all along is this unequal application of the law.
According to the report, one of these individuals warned the FBI there could be unplanned violent activity on January 6th. Another had concerns for the safety of members of Congress.
And this report was published the day after FBI Director Christopher Wray announced he would step down before Trump takes office again.
And Kayla, how is support going for Kash Patel, who Trump picked to replace Wray as director?
So, Amira, it's actually gaining steam and going pretty well for Patel at the moment. He's already locked down broad support from Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and this was very important. So now he has endorsements from Chuck Grassley, the incoming chairman of the committee, but he also has backing from Texas Senator John Cornyn and North Carolina's Tom Tillis. It's looking likely that he will get confirmed. Now, when Patel was initially announced for the role, he was seen as a controversial nominee who wants to overhaul the agency and that he could have some trouble getting confirmed by the Senate. But Amira, at least right right now that does seem to have passed.
All right, good to know. Thank you so much. Kayla Gaskins live reporting from Washington, D.C. A man is in jail in Arizona accused of stealing over $300,000 in cryptocurrency. Scottsdale police said Nur Hussein would impersonate an Uber driver, pick up people who'd requested rides, and transfer money to his digital wallet from their phones, pretending that he was getting directions or using the Uber app. Hussein is due back in court next Wednesday. 14 North Korean nationals are wanted by the FBI for using fake identities to get tech jobs with American companies and transferring money back to North Korea against U.S. sanctions. Prosecutors say they made at least $88 million between 2017 and 2023. They could face 27 years in prison each. The State Department is offering a $5 million reward for any information. The international consulting firm McKinsey & Company has agreed to pay $650 million in a liability agreement for its work to help opioid manufacturer Purdue Pharma increase its sales of the addictive drug OxyContin. This represents the first time a management consulting firm has been held criminally responsible for the advice it gave, resulting in a crime by a client. The Department of Justice says this punishment serves as a powerful warning to the consulting industry world moving forward.
That $650 million figure that I mentioned is not double, it is not triple. It is over 85 times the amount of money that McKinsey made on the turbocharge engagement that forms the central basis for the criminal charge that we are discussing today.
The former anti-narcotics chief of Bolivia, now in the United States. He was extradited here yesterday on federal drug trafficking charges. Officials say Maximiliano Davila Perez, also known as Macho, helped ship plane loads of cocaine to the United States and misused his authority. Davila Perez could face life in prison. He has denied doing anything wrong.
Where you were charged with 2 counts of reckless endangerment, how do you plead, sir?
Conditionally guilty.
And that is country music star Morgan Wallen pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges that he faced after prosecutors say he threw a chair off the roof at a Nashville bar. 2 Metro police officers say they were standing nearby, about 3 feet away from there when the chair landed. Wallen originally faced felony charges but made a deal with prosecutors. The singer will have to spend a week at a DUI education center and pay a fine and court fees. He'll also be on probation for 2 years with the chance to expunge his record thereafter. Coming up, the latest step the U.S. is taking to prevent terrorism from spreading in Syria with a new fragile government in place. Then the candy that can lower your risk of developing type 2 diabetes, even though it contains sugar. And later, new efforts to stop crime in one state as retail thieves become more brazen. We're back in 90 seconds. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., the 125th meeting of the annual Army versus Navy football game is meant to kick off. One of the college football's most iconic matchups, taking an increased significance this year as both teams have had very strong years. Army enters the game with only one loss on the season to Notre Dame, who is in this year's college football playoff. Navy also with a strong record, 8-3. They look to take revenge after losing last year to the Black Knights of West Point. Navy does have the all-time lead, 62 wins, 55 losses, and 7 ties. And several big names will be in attendance, including President-elect Donald Trump. He'll be joined by the Vice President-to-be, J.D. Vance. Also, Elon Musk, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as well as former Marine Daniel Penny. He was acquitted of homicide this week in the death of a New York City subway rider. More than 3,700 people in Malibu, California can go back to their homes after evacuating from a fire. The Franklin fire spans more than 4,000 acres, and it's about 30% contained at this point. Not clear how the fire started, but the calmer winds and rising humidity in the area have helped crews better control it. So that's very good news tonight. And the United States, plus its allies, are now in a race to shape a new Syria as it tries to get back on its feet almost a week after its government was overthrown. Secretary of State Antony Blinken today making an unannounced stop in Iraq, one of the many countries visited by the secretary in recent days in a bid to unify support among Arab nations for a peaceful new government in Syria that doesn't allow terror groups to take root.
No one knows the importance of that more than Iraq because of the presence and the ongoing presence of ISIS or Daesh in Syria. And we are determined to make sure that Daesh cannot reemerge.
Syria's new government, while welcomed by the United States, remains fragile, with it still very unclear whether rebel faction groups can remain united in their efforts. Meantime, the American freed just yesterday by rebel groups after going missing for 7 months has been flown out of Syria and is now in neighboring Jordan. Travis Timmerman of Missouri was found earlier this week by rebels who have been releasing thousands of what they say are political prisoners wrongfully held by former President Bashar al-Assad's government. Timmerman told the AP he had gone to the country on a Christian pilgrimage. His parents sharing with CNN that learning he's okay turned out to be an early Christmas present.
When I saw him on the news, I started bawling and told her, I'm like, really him, he's really alive. You know, after 7 months, you start thinking the worst.
And Timmerman's family says they hope to soon see him in person and greet him with big hugs. Linebacker Devondre Campbell, who refused to play last night for the San Francisco 49ers, won't play again for them for at least the rest of the year. Campbell told coaches he wouldn't play in the third quarter after injured star Dre Greenlaw came out of the game. Campbell had been starting for Greenlaw until last night, who played in his first game since tearing his Achilles in the Super Bowl last season. Head coach Kyle Shanahan said today an official decision on Campbell's status will be coming. The team could suspend him or cut him out completely. If he gets cut, he could potentially sign with another team. The FDA is recalling more than 233,000 bottles of a popular antidepressant drug due to a chemical containing the risk of cancer. Duloxetine, sold by New Jersey-based Rising Pharmaceuticals, is classified as a Class 2 risk, the second most severe level. If you're taking the drug, officials recommend speaking with your healthcare provider for guidance. Doctors usually advise staying away from sweets to maintain a healthy weight and limit your risk of getting sick, but not in this case. A new study found eating chocolate can actually lower your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The National News Desk's Emma Withrow joins us with more.
Definitely dark chocolate is what we're talking about here. Milk chocolate can actually lead to long-term weight gain. That's what the participants of the study reported. But dark chocolate had an effect that actually surprised even the researchers who pursued this. According to the Harvard research study, people who eat about an ounce of dark chocolate every day have a 21% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The researchers came to this conclusion after analyzing data from 192,000 adults who answered surveys over the course of 30 years. But Carrie Gans, a registered dietitian, still has questions about the study.
It was based on the participants' memory. So it was subjective. And whenever we ask people to remember what they eat, it's not always 100% accurate. I mean, most of us can't even say what we had for breakfast yesterday. So it's hard when people are reporting their food because we have to kind of sometimes take it with a grain of salt.
Though Gans noted, dark chocolate is well known for having health benefits.
Dark chocolate is packed with an antioxidant called flavanol. And flavanols have anti-inflammatory properties. So the more antioxidants we consume in our diet, the better it is for us.
But eating dark chocolate won't be a game changer for reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes on its own.
We can never look at just one food. So if dark chocolate is showing some promising health benefits, that has to be part of an overall healthy diet. If you just are consuming dark chocolate with an unhealthy diet, I doubt you would have seen the same results.
So what's even interesting about all of this is that dark and milk chocolate actually have similar levels of calories and saturated fat, but the flavanols in dark chocolate most likely offset those things so you don't gain weight or increase your risk for diabetes.
Emma, thank you. And coming up, the steps being taken to stop criminals from illegally selling rare bottles of bourbon at exorbitant prices. We'll be right back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we begin in Maryland with concerns about a transnational criminal gang.
In Baltimore City, concerns for public safety from Maryland's ICE Director Matthew Elliston.
Tren de Agua are starting to come into the city of Baltimore, which is new for the city police department.
As he says, the violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, or TDA, is already here.
It's heartbreaking to hear that the mayor wouldn't want our help.
But Mayor Brandon Scott has been less than willing to work with ICE.
Not going to be just targeting people because they're immigrants.
Elliston calling that thought process misguided.
We're not asking them to help us enforce immigration law. We're asking to help them make a safer Baltimore.
Bourbon has become the sweetheart of the industry, making a bottle so loved, something like Pappy, go for thousands of dollars on the secondary market. And Ohio State Senator Bill DeMora wants to combat just that. He wants to stop these bourbon flippers from selling a bottle illegally in Ohio at inflated prices, so he introduced Senate Bill 320. It would require a merchant to open the bottle and then reseal it. This would apply to all allocated bottles of limited release bourbon and whiskey, and while the intentions are good, this could cause a nightmare for bourbon lovers and enthusiasts.
I think most people, when they buy something, they want it sealed by the manufacturer. They don't want it opened up. You're also introducing oxygen to the product. Bourbon can withstand oxidation, but it does change it subtly.
cameras show what has happened repeatedly in the last few months in and around Montgomery County. Investigators catching multiple people in the act 10 different times. Here you see someone stealing items off a shelf at CVS and Chevy Chase. Surveillance cameras capturing this person taking clothes right near the front and walking out of a Target.
We are deploying a variety of tools and officers into this, so we have technology.
Last month, we spoke with the Montgomery County Police about their efforts to stop crime, and retail thefts was at the top of the list. We saw a security guard tonight patrolling the aisles of Target. The CVS off Connecticut Avenue has more valuable products locked up.
And coming up, getting ready for dozens of brightly colored meteors to grace the night sky. The best time and place to watch the peak of the Geminid meteor shower when we come back. Well, they say you can find love, but not many find it after the age of 100. This Pennsylvania couple, 102-year-old Marjorie Fitterman and 100-year-old Bernie Littman, just became the oldest couple to marry after dating for 9 years. They met at their senior living facility and hit it off at a costume party. The wedding ceremony was held at the facility where they met, and 4 generations of Bernie's family came to celebrate. Family members say they were surprised they decided to marry, but they are happy the couple found each other and say their relationship keeps them young and healthy. Stargazers, it's about that time of year for the peak of the annual Geminid meteor shower. The Shooting Stars event is expected to peak tonight into early tomorrow. According to the American Meteor Society, up to 120 intensely colored meteors can be seen per hour during this celestial event. They're caused by dust and debris that's left in the inner solar system. The Geminid meteor showers are most visible in the night sky, but you do have to head somewhere far away from city and street lights. Experts say you should lie down flat on your back with your feet pointed south. You may catch them at as early as 9 or 10 p.m., but just in case, make sure you take a sleeping bag and keep your fingers crossed for a sighting. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching and have a great weekend.